Good evening, friends. Today we are going to discuss the next wave of opportunities, the next wave of growth. Things have changed. As many speakers, I'm sure, must have told you in last 4 or 5 sessions, the India is changing. So let's see what kind of changes we are going to see and how we can make money out of it. We just proceed because we might talk about some companies and the disclaimer that we might be having for our PMS clients or personal capacity. There are 4 major opportunities which are going to be the biggest wealth creators for all the investors. The first most important thing is digitalization. Second very important thing is capital expenditure. I think which as a country probably we forgot, on a relative terms, because if you see last 8, 9, 10 years, India has not grown much in terms of capex, typical old economy. Third is China plus one. I'm sure everybody in this room knows it is not China versus India. It is China plus one. And last but not least, very, very important thing, the big is becoming bigger. Let's take in next 15 minutes or so how each of the opportunity one can play out from the equity market. The first most important thing is digitalization. I'm sure everybody in this room knows that if you look at the internet subscribers, it has become 5 times in last 5 years. 743 million internet subscribers. If you look at the broadband subscribers, it has become 10 times in last 5-6 years to roughly 750 million subscribers. The cost of data is probably lowest in the world, and that is basically leading to much more and faster adoption of digitalization. Because of this, if you look at the number of mobile subscribers and the number of applications, 30 billion applications gets downloaded in India, is probably highest in the world. The internet ubiquity is leading to the faster digital adoption, and that's the reason why if you look at the GB consumption, India probably is double compared to China. And this digitalization wave is creating lot of growth opportunity across the different sectors. It is not only about fintech, it is not only about food delivery, it is also much beyond that, and I will little bit give color on that. The faster adoption of digitalization is leading to 2030, no, not 2030, 40, 50, 60, 70% compounded growth in last 3, 4, 5 years. Whether you take it e-commerce as an opportunity, whether you take it POS terminals as an opportunity, whether you look at the digital advertisement spend as an opportunity, whether you take the online gaming as an opportunity, whether you take it the discount brokers, market share is now 43%. Every field, you are seeing the exponential growth because of the faster digital adoption. Unicorns, I'm sure with 3, 4 big companies already getting listed with 1 lakh crore market cap, we all are aware the new economy, the new unicorns are created thanks to digitalization. And if you look at the combined revenues of these unicorns, is roughly $34 billion, roughly 1.2% of GDP. And that is going to increase to almost 3 to 5 times over next, not 10 years, just over next 3 years. But when I talk about digitalization, in fact, in last 1 month, there are many investors, they keep asking us that how to play the digitalization. Is it only the Paytm of the world? Is it only Zomato of the world? Answer is not so. In fact, there are many companies in our portfolio as well, which are actually leading the digitalization, and they are the listed companies. You don't need to go for only unlisted companies. Let me give you one example. The Industrial Revolution 4.0. Who is leading this? Globally, it is ABBs of the world, Honeywells of the world, 3Ms of the world, Cummins of the world. They are leading this industrial automation. And fortunately, all these companies are listed in India. So, when we look at even from our portfolio perspective, we keep asking this question to all our portfolio companies that how fast they are gearing up. It is not only about just being a digital world, but it is about the automation. It is about the robotics. Let me give you one example. ABB India, for example, has implemented the longest conveyor belt in the world for JSW Steel in Karnataka plant. It saved 3,000 rides of truck to shift the iron ore from mine to the plant. I'm talking about that kind of a saving. It is just not automation. It is actually sustainable solution. It is actually a green solution I'm talking about. So digitalization, in short, is just not about the new economy. There are many companies within the listed space which we keep checking in our portfolio universe and try to identify such companies, and they have technology as a moat. Second important theme is capital expenditure. Without going too much into the last 10 years, where capex was probably less than what it was desired, from last 12, 18, 24 months, the focus on capital expenditure is back. And despite COVID year, despite challenges, why we think capex is going to revive? First, of course, it's the responsibility of government. And government is doing whatever best they can. And if you look at here, I have given the 2 years numbers, not the last year comparison. 2 years comparison. So if you look at the central government, 2,500 billion versus April to October 2019, 2,000 billion. 20% increase in 2 years. And same, the state level capex has also maintained the momentum. So that's the first thing, because somebody needs to spend. But more important is this slide. Despite a COVID year, corporate India has generated huge free cash flow in FY21. And it is because of that, corporate India has repaid almost 1,80,000 crores debt from the balance sheet. Think of it. COVID year, but corporate India repaid the debt. So your balance sheet of borrower is now very, very healthy. Balance sheet of lender has also become much healthier. Very important thing for capex to revive. And I'm not talking about a hope. There are actually on-ground announcements. And I have given here the 4 important sectors, whether you look at cement industry, whether you look at steel industry, or whether you look at non-thermal power sector. Over next 3 years, the capital expenditure is going to witness 130% increase compared to last 3 years. And I have given some statistics. The incremental capex by cement, 160 billion, by steel, 750 billion, by non-thermal power, 900 billion. In totality, aggregate capex, just not 3, put together everything, it is going to be 4,300 billion additional incremental capex. Most of these capex are already announced. So we are no more living in a hope world. PLI is going to further add to the capex. I'm sure everybody knows that India is a huge importer across different sectors, and government has announced number of incentives which will lead to 1.4 trillion capex over next 3 years. Again, we are not talking about 10 years, we are talking about next 3 years. Third important thing, China plus one. Well, the global companies always discuss China plus one, but it was only in the boardrooms. There were actually no on-ground implementation in last 10 years. Thanks to COVID, India has now arrived on the world map. And every company would like to have a backup plan. And they are increasingly moving to China plus one. Across the sectors, India is a huge opportunity. Look at the agrochemical side. The market share of China is 17%. Market share of India is just 6%. Look at the pharma. India is 4%. China is 11%. Look at the dyes. India is 5%. China is 12%. Even if we get 1-2% away from China to India, for us is a doubling of revenue over a period of next 3, 4, 5, 6 years. It is a huge opportunity. And when we meet companies, like for example, we hold many companies in our specialty chemical portfolio. And one of the company, like for example, Navin Fluorine, they have the order visibility over next 5 years. Already orders are already booked by the best of the global multinational companies, assured order. And most of these orders by many chemical companies or take or pay order. So committed capital expenditure, committed orders, committed revenue, and that too with a very, very healthy return on capital employed. Last but not least, very important thing, big is becoming bigger. And I'm sure probably the investors who have invested in us, we follow 3M investment approach: market size, market share, and margin of safety. We have identified 40 to 50 sectors in India where, forget top 5, there are only handful of players, 2 players, 3 players, 4 players, 5 players. And when you buy such monopolistic business, you can navigate the cycles much better way compared to the peer group. I'm giving you a few examples. Look at the bank credit. The top 6 players' market share, it has changed significantly in last 10 years. In fact, on incremental basis, the top 6 players' market share is now 67% just in last 4 to 5 years. If you look at the cement industry, 100% of incremental market share is within the top 3-4 players. If you look at the steel industry, the top 6 players, they control almost 95% of market share on incremental basis. And so on and so forth. I'm just giving you few examples. There are many examples where the data are not available. And actually in those segments like plywood, like pipes, like wires and cables, the consolidation has been much, much bigger. The shift of market share, not only from unorganized to organized, but within the organized players themselves, if you are a number 1 player, number 2 player, with the best of the balance sheet and best of the free cash flow, it allows you to grow disproportionately. And what is the better time than the rising inflation? In fact, yesterday we were doing some workings and we were looking at our portfolio companies, 2 years basis revenue and profit growth. The revenue growth has been 16% and EBITDA growth is 32%. I'm talking about a 2 years basis. 2Q versus normal 2Q. It's an absolutely commendable job done by our portfolio companies, because normally when the inflation goes up, your margin generally goes down. But because the big is becoming bigger, they have gained market share. Not only in India, many of our portfolio companies are globally competitive, like specialty chemical. Like for example, auto ancillary companies, what we have, they are globally competitive, correct? They gain market share in India, they gain market share in the world. They are probably now better cost efficient compared to even their China counterparts. So one of our MNC company, what we are holding, they have a strong exports growth, because globally they have identified that Indian engineering company listed in India as one of the major sourcing hub for the world market. And that's what basically you need to keep checking, that what kind of a competitiveness your portfolio company is having. Of course, I don't want to, one obvious question in everybody's mind is, ठीक है यार, बहुत सारी बातें हो गई, मार्केट क्या लग रहा है और करेक्शन आ रहा है एवरी डे, कभी कभी 1000 पॉइंट का, कभी 200 पॉइंट का, तो क्या करना चाहिए? Corrections are part of equity market. During 2003 to 2008, Sensex became 5 times in 5 years. But 6 times market corrected by more than 15%. 6 times index corrected by more than 15%. So definitely you need to have a stomach to absorb the volatility. You need to keep faith that markets are going to do well. But what will bring that faith is nothing but one simple thing, the earnings growth. Market is mirror of earnings growth. And this is a slide for last, since FY99, almost now 21 years. And I have plotted the market growth versus the earnings growth. And as you can see in this slide, 2003 to 2008, the earnings growth has been 26%. And that was the reason why market became 5 times in 5 years. Last 12 years is actually winter for Indian corporate, because the earnings growth is very subdued, only 6.5%. And therefore Nifty delivered only 8%. Is actually not a good number, because nominal GDP growth of India is 5 plus 5, 10, 11, 12%. Nifty has actually underperformed the GDP growth. So question to ask is that whether India can deliver 10, 15, 18, 20% earnings growth over next 3, 4, 5 years. We think it will because of the 4 themes what we have talked about. Big is becoming bigger, very important. Capex is on revival. China plus one strategy will give more impetus to Indian companies, and digitalization force will further add to the revenue growth. But hey, there is a question. What if inflation goes up? What if Fed starts tapering? Isn't it bad for equity? Because in last 30 years, everybody has told us that inflation is the biggest enemy of equity market globally. Correct? Friends, you need to make this point very carefully. While inflation is normally considered as an enemy, moderate inflation is actually very good. This is a little bit complex slide. It is not very easy to understand. But let me simplify the things for you. If you look at this chart, FY00, where we are at 3.6% corporate profit to GDP, that is on left hand side, roughly 2% corporate profit to GDP, inflation was only 3%. Then the inflation started moving up. You can see that red line, correct? Look at the red line. It moved to 11%. Look at the blue bar, corporate profit to GDP. It moved up from 2% to 7%. Hyperinflation, not good, and then market started correcting. Corporate profit to GDP also started correcting. But right now, the early cycle of inflation is actually very good time period for corporate India to grow the profits. Please remember, deflation is worse than inflation. Am I right? Some inflation is actually healthy for global economy and for the Indian economy. But what if Fed starts tapering? The economy was in ICU and therefore oxygen was required. If the patient is coming out of ICU, should you be happy or sad? Let's decide. Correct? That doesn't mean patient will not take vitamin. Vitamins are required. Fed will give the necessary vitamins. But oxygen is no more required. Patient is coming out from ICU. Economy is going to become much more healthier. You don't need steroids. अगर स्टेरॉइड्स नहीं चाहिए तो क्यों लेना चाहिए? क्योंकि उसकी साइड इफेक्ट बहुत गंभीर होती है. करेक्ट? Same thing works for economy. And therefore, the moderate inflation environment with a measured Fed policy approach globally and in India is actually very, very healthy for corporate India profit growth and as well as for the equity as an asset class. That doesn't mean there will not be volatility. Volatility will be there. But bottom-up approach will be more rewarding than the top-down approach. If you buy the businesses, and that's what we strive to do on a consistent basis, identify the businesses which are leaders in their sector. They are not only leaders, but they are actually gaining market share during downtime and during uptime. And they are not stopping over there. They are reinvesting their cash flows and growing consistently year after year. Those are the businesses in which one need to invest into. But friends, there is nothing called long term. Correct? Because we all believe in long term we all are dead. How long you should be invested in a particular company? Till the time you believe there is going to be an earnings growth. Yesterday I was reading one blog. Do you know Dow Jones, US market cap, how much percent of the market cap was in the railroad companies in 1900? 29% of US market cap was in railroad companies. Railroad companies, railways. Today, it is less than 1%. It is less than 1%. In 100 years, the 30% became irrelevant. 75% of Sensex has changed in last 16 years. Yesterday's blue chip companies are today's red chip. And today's blue chip has a danger to become tomorrow's red chips. Disruptors are good to invest into, but keep in mind, they also can get disrupted. Therefore, disciplined exit strategy is something which is must. And that's what we consistently follow in our PMS to make sure that we not only create wealth, but we protect capital. So that's it from my side. And this basically slide which talks about how one can create wealth, what happened during 2003 to 2008, 5 times Sensex in 5 years. Thanks. Thank you very much, PMS Bazaar, for giving us a fantastic opportunity to participate in this forum. And thank you, friends, for spending your time in this Friday evening. Thanks.